Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great weekend. I'm Susan Jane and we are going to be doing some live flower readings today. I had my weekend up with my grandbaby and we did the Anzac March, which was really nice. And I'm not as keen on going to them when they're the really big marches, but I like the small, intimate ones, and that's what we had on the weekend, which was really, really lovely. And yeah, it's really nice to honour those that have fallen or that are still actually supporting and protecting our country. So good on you guys. So it's the Anzac. It was the Anzac weekend. I hope you had a good one. This week it is. Okay, so that's what I was doing. We're doing the moon planting. Now, when I had my 90-acre organic crop farm, I did a lot of planting by the moon. So use the moon guide to help plant. And you plant and you sit and you sow and you prune and do lots of different things in the garden and in the farm that aligns with the moon, the cycles of the moon. And I wanted to be able to bring a collective in. So that's what I'm going to do at the moment. And this week, the phase of the moon we're in the last quarter, which is the waning crescent. Now, what that actually means is that it's when the moonlight is decreasing. So the energy draws down, it's absorbed. So as far as the growth is concerned, it's actually reduced. So if you want to do pruning or cutting the lawn to reduce the growth, this is a great time to do it. If you wanted to prune to improve or mow the lawn to improve the growth, you would do it in the first quarter, the new moon in the first quarter. The new moon phase in the first quarter phase, but we're in the last quarter phase. So it's that waning crescent. So it's getting darker and darker. So as far as what goals that we want to create this time of, for this week, we don't want to create goals. It's not goal creating time, okay? It's time to simplify. It's time to reduce. It's time to look at what is no longer serving us and where we can let those things go. So it's definitely not a sowing time at this particular week. Now, the other aspect I'm going to be looking at too, as far as working with the moons in the last quarter, I'm going to also look at the Trust Mastery program, which is a program that I put on. And in this last quarter, it's all about self-love. Now, in the Trust Mastery program, it is all about how we look internally at our aspects of life. So we look at self-awareness, self-confidence, self-reliance, and self-love. I like the self-love in this area because it's time to get out of the external world and come back into our internal world. And if we're looking at the physical side of self-love, we look at protecting. So we're setting loving, clear boundaries so people know what boundaries we've got. So we've got to start to protect our boundaries. In a mental aspect, we need to celebrate who we are and why we are like we are. So, just celebrating is just giving us that self-love that we need to do and acknowledging how we have got to where we have got to. On an emotional aspect, it's all about understanding that we do make mistakes, but we need to be gentle with ourselves about it. So this is the perfect time to be understanding what that means and what that's all about. If we have made mistakes, how can we look at that and how can we be gentle with ourselves and grow from there? And then in a spiritual aspect, it's about finding our happy, intuitive medium. Now, when we are connecting with the intuition, we will have certain areas that really resonate with us. And when I first started doing mine, I did a lot of card readings. Now, of course, I do the flower readings. So all my aspects are on flower readings at this particular stage. So with all that, the last quarter, we need to simplify. We're not going to set any goals at this particular time. We can have a little look back and reflect on the history and the background. And for the last quarter, as far as the Trust Mastery program goes, it's all about self-love. So protect the self, accept the self, allow the self, and trust the self. That's what it's about for this week, for the last quarter, the waning crescent. That's what we're on this week. But that's that. So that's the collective. I tried to do a flower reading for the collective and that doesn't work either. So I am going to do a couple of flower readings and it's a bit quiet this morning. So if you want to choose a flower image between 1 and 100, I can do a flower reading for you. Just going to have a quick look on Facebook and see if anyone has put any information in that I need to be aware of in case they've added something. Irene, no. Okay, no. So that's cool. All right. So I'll do a couple of quick flower readings, and I will use my trusty random picker. Where's my random picker? Gosh, we have so many of these nowadays. So I've got the random picker, and it's actually between 1 and 100. So let me just change that. 1 and 100. And we will, okay, let's make sure that's working. Randomize. Yes, it's working. All right, so we're going to pick a random picture. Now, I'm going to do this one for Glenda because Glenda often pops back in later on. So there's a couple that we'll zoom in. So that one is for Glenda. So hers is number 73 this week. And it is, this one. Okay, so this one is, hang on, let me share it with you first. It's really quite sweet, this one. When we look at this type of image and we think about our goals and that, and it, like I said, it is the waning crescent this week. It is all about not having those big goals, but try to start to look at more of the general overall and the environment that you're living in. The aspect to where you're living, is it conducive to where you want to be and what you want to do? So when we look at the goals for this week, again, it's not about goal setting this week, but we sort of think, well, this goal isn't as big or as important this particular week. And when we look at the way this is worked out with Glenda's flower reading, she has a lot of the guides and the support of the leaves are above her, which is saying that she's going to getting a lot of spiritual connections this week. So all her information and guidance is coming from a spiritual aspect. And if you want to pick a flower image between 1 and 100, I can do a flower reading for you. So anyone on there. But this one's for Glenda. It's number 73. And when I'm sort of looking at this one, it's really strange because either I've got the picture in upside down, which I could have, or this particular flower is dropping the image. So the base of it is not growing from the bottom. It's not like planted and growing from the bottom. It's more of a spiritual goal that's come from the top down. So when we look at this, we're sort of going, okay, well, you're going to get a lot of spiritual guidance this week to help you through. Your goal isn't so big this week. It's not a big focus to be looking at. But the spiritual guidance you're going to get a lot of downloads. You need some quiet time this week. And that's perfect for this waxing crescent because waning crescent, because it's time to give yourself that space to be quiet, to receive those intuitive messages that you're receiving. So Glenda, you are going to get a lot of messages coming through this week. Spiritually, that's a bit blurry as far as the physical aspect of it, but definitely the spiritual aspect of it. You're going to get a lot of information. Give yourself that time, give yourself that space to be able to receive that information. I know when I get heavy downloads, it can be like overnight and you're constantly getting this information overnight and you're not sure whether you've slept or not slept, but you get a lot of downloads. Now, often the downloads you get like that may not make a lot of sense to you to start with because you're getting so much, a lot of it just doesn't make sense. But it's almost like if you can imagine if you're sort of downloading, say, Facebook into your phone, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that doesn't make sense to you. But they need it in there to be able to show you the pictures, to show you the words, to allow you to connect and share. So there's a lot of stuff in there that you'll receive that doesn't really make sense until you start to put it all together into what you need. And that's what you're going to be getting this week, Glenda. So give yourself some space and some time. It'll be a pretty heavy-duty downloads for you this week. So that is yours. And the other person I want to, because there's a couple that really support me all the time. And these are the guys that I want to support back. Sally's the other one. So Sal, this is going to be yours. Oops, number 26. Today's date, Sal, how's that? So yours is, oh, it's a nice one too. Let me show you. I keep saying that, don't I? Let me share this one with you, Sal. Here is yours for this week, Sally. Again, you've got a lot of goals in this one, and it's very blurry in the background. So it's like saying, okay, you've got goals there, but we want to look more in the background at this particular time because of that being that waning crescent. We start to look at what's happened in the background and where that's going and what's happening with that. And I see with yours, you've got a lot of blurred goals in the background. So there's a lot of goals that you've had there that are just falling on the wayside. We've only got this one particular one in the front here that's actually clear and has any understandings. Now, again, we don't want to create goals this time of year, this week. It is all about getting an understanding of what we've had and trying to simplify. So maybe some of these blurred goals in the background, so some of these ideas and some of these aspects that you've been looking at or wanting to achieve, maybe some of those have just gone to the wayside. And it's probably time now to start looking at whether they are still viable to go ahead with. All right. So we've got this space, we've got this time this week for you to sit down and get an understanding of if these areas are suitable still for you. They're a bit blurred, and you've got quite a few of them when you look at this image. Time to focus on that one in the center. But for this week, because it is the waning crescent, it's not, we don't really want to focus on that. We want to simplify and get rid of some of the stuff that's in the background that you no longer need or is no longer relevant. So that's your Sal. If you want a flower reading, just pick a number between 1 and 100 and a flower will come up and I can do a quick reading on it. But this week it is all about self-love and just simplifying this week because of the moon cycles. Okay, now that's your Sal. Have a look and see if those goals suit you. Now the next one, take that one away. The next one is for Brian. And of course, my phone turns off. So, Brian, you're another one that has always supported me. Let's see what your week is all about. And remember, it's about self-love, and yours is number 66. 66 is, this one's a nice one too. Right, let me share this one. Okay, this is yours, Brian. Now, the first thing I have to say with this one, Brian, is that it is a lotus flower. It is not a water lily. It's a lotus flower. Now, there's a difference. The water lily sits just above the water. The lotus flower sits well above the water. So in a context to that and what we're looking at with the waxing crescent this week, how we look at self-love and getting an understanding of who we are, a lot of it is to do with the background. Now, your background here it's just all full of leaves, all right? We can see that these are the leaves from this particular flower. Now, when we look at that background and we look at the leaves are our guides in life. And when we're looking at the guides in this situation, when we're looking at your guides in this situation, you're looking at a lot of spirit guide, and we've still got some physical guides as well. So people that are available and happening alive today, they're going to be giving you some support, but you're going to be getting a lot of the spiritual guides. So again, with this waning crescent, and it's about self-love, it's about settling down and simplifying and just starting to listen to what you're hearing. Now, I'm going to say this in two sort of forms, Brian, because you're going to be hearing physical words like me talking to you now, and you're going to try and get an understanding of what that is. And then you're going to be hearing other words, and that's like your other voice inside. Now, not those negative connotations, it's all the positive ones. It's ideas. It's like I'm heading to the shops, and for some reason I've gone a different way, because you've listened to something and you've got something in your head and you've headed off in a different direction. be aware of those sort of things that are happening, that synchronicity that's happening around you. That's those spiritual messages, that intuitive messages that you are receiving, and that intuitive guidance. And that's what it's about this week. We want to just chill, relax, take it a little bit easy, and get an understanding of where we're going and what we're doing. And you're getting a lot of this information coming through to you, and you may not be actioning it as well as you could. So when you hear something, and I've explained it before on the podcast where I've said, we'd be driving, and my partner, he'll say, "Oh, did you see that?" And something will go past that has caught his attention. And I'll say, "No." But I'll go, "Did you hear that?" And there's something on the radio that caught my attention. So my intuition has tuned into that, to the radio, because it needed to hear that. His was more visual, and he saw a sign go by. Now, neither one's wrong or right. It's just that is what I was tuning into intuitively, and that's what he was tuning into intuitively. And it's these sort of things. Now, there's a reason why he saw that, and there was a reason why I heard that. I didn't need to see that, and he didn't need to hear that. And this is where we have to look at all those little messages that we're getting. And I remember when I first started doing it, it was like, well, I don't know why I needed to see that. And I just acknowledged it. I didn't necessarily have an answer for it, but I did acknowledge it. And that made a little bit more sense to me. It's like, okay, I might not have needed or understood what that meant, but now I'm becoming more aware of some of these little idiosyncrasies that are popping up, those little messages that keep popping up, and I'm becoming more aware of it. That's what I need you to do this week. Give yourself your time and space to do that, okay? Give yourself the time to hear and absorb some of those messages that are coming in. So that's yours, Brian. Good luck with that. I hope yesterday went well for you. Now, the last one I wanted to do was Mel, because Melly, of course, she's always very supportive, and this will just be a quick one. So, Mel, here's yours. Number 13, lucky number 13 for you. Okay. You're going to laugh at this one, Mel. Okay, this one I need to share with you so you can quickly see it, and then we'll finish off. Now, why I'm having a bit of a giggle at this one. This particular flower was the flower image that I picked when I was looking at, when I wrote the book, when I wrote Intuitive Flowers, Empowering Your Emotional Goals. This was the flower image I chose as a theory tester for my book. And I'm a theory tester, so I will test these theories. I did this for my book, and this was the image that I chose. Now, what was really interesting in this image, and I'm going to go back with the same sort of principle for Melly, is that the aha moment for me when I did this was the big round leaves, these great big leaves. Now we're looking at them, and because again, it's the the waning crescent. So it's all about our background and trying to simplify. When I saw these big leaves, the leaves are our guides. They're in the background. We've got these ones at the front. So these are more physical, ones to the back, more spiritual. But the biggest thing about these is they're big round leaves, which means they're very, very feminine based. The guidance that you're going to be receiving this week, Mel, is very, very feminine based. It is, you've got both physical and spiritual. You've got them both in the past, most of them in the past, some in the future. And that's all coming through. So what you can focus on with your time out, it's a bit of quiet time to be able to receive those intuitive messages that are coming through, and those physical messages that are coming through. And they're very, very feminine based. When I saw this image for my goal, it was a business goal, and my big aha moment was that I had to connect more with like-minded women. I didn't do that. I'm very, very independent. It was like, I can do this on my own, until I read my actual image. And it was like, no, you really do need support and guidance from other women that have been there and done that. That's what yours is all about this week, Mel. So take that quiet time to reflect back and have a look. You're going to be receiving lots of messages, and because there is a lot of water in that too, they're going to be emotionally based, but they're feminine, they're emotionally based. I mean, that's what you would sort of expect to a certain degree as well, and both on the physical nature and the spiritual nature. So you've got a bit to catch up on too. So this is, give yourself some time, give yourself some space to have that quiet moment where you can receive those messages as they come through. But that's it for today. That is all I am doing. It's a quiet one today. I've maybe thrown people a little bit with what's going on with the long weekends, because we're going to have 3. This will be next week will be the 3rd one we have in a row. So it's throwing us a little bit, but that's all good. If you want a free flower reading of your goals, so next week we'll be looking. So this week it's all the last quarter. Next week we'll be a bit more towards the first quarter, and then we can start setting some goals. So I'm going to help you with that too. But I am Susan Jane. The podcast comes out on Thursday. That's starting to sort of get a little bit whoa, a lot of downloads there. That's going really well, and really interesting guests coming on the podcast. So have a great week, and I will see you all next week. Jump onto intuitivenature.com.au if you want any more information from me, and I will say bye for now. Okay, guys, bye for now.